Welcome, fight fans, to episode 36 of the Hooks In MMA podcast. We've got a big UFC pay-per-view this weekend, UFC 260, and we're going to be introducing two guests that are involved with this card. The first is on the prelim. His name is Modestas, the Baltic Gladiator, Bukauskas. He's a light heavyweight, and he's going to be getting into a crazy war with a Polish power. Not quite Jan's power, but maybe an up-and-comer. So it's going to be a great tilt. Hope you tune into that. And then if you saw a couple episodes ago, we had Eric Miocic, our first MMA coach on the show. We've got our second coach joining us. His name is Eddie Cha. He's a head striking coach at Fight Ready, and he's known for being in the corner of both Korean Zombie and Cejudo, and of course, Hooks In alum, Eric Anders. So make sure to tune into those interviews. Getting into hot headline news, talking a bit about what went down last Saturday in the fight night. I'm still scarred for life after seeing Kevin Holland basically piss away all of my parlays. We're going to be breaking that down, seeing what's next for him, what's next for Brunson. Don't want to take anything away from him. It was a great performance and great win. I'm just talking a bit about that. But then, of course, the big segment, as always, getting ahead of that book, we've got easy lines, UFC 260, Miocic versus Ngannou. There's a great undercard as well. So a bunch of value picks lined up for you. Zoni, why don't you kick us off with some hot headline news?
Yeah, so Holland, Brunson last week, going into it, Holland, as usual, talks a lot of shit during the fight. Holland talks a lot of shit. It's what he does. I actually saw today Jack Hermanson put a different spin on maybe why Holland does that. He says he talks during fights in order to do like he's like self-healing during the fight. So he's talking, and like even when he's getting stuck, he's definitely not listening to his coaches, which we know. We know he likes to talk shit, but he actually was being dominated in ways that he hasn't the last bunch of fights that he's won. So he's almost like trying to like self-heal himself with regards to not being able to get up. His takedown defense was awful. Brunson took advantage of that. That's how Brunson fights. He played into Brunson's mentality and his strategy, which totally goes against how Holland fights to begin with. He likes standing up. He likes talking. He likes picking them apart. He likes counter punching, and that's not how this fight went. It was Brunson's fight from the beginning, and he basically rode that out into the end. We'll talk later on, but Brunson's definitely looking at a fight between him and Costa, maybe potentially. We got some winners losers coming up here with like Vettori and Till. I could see him fighting maybe Vettori if Till is victorious and fights Adesanya next. But yeah, it was a disappointing fight because I thought Holland would win too. But it backfired on him talking, but he says he's going to still continue to do that and be himself. Just it didn't work out last week, and he's got some stuff to work on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that take there, Zone. And what I thought was, he's got to listen to his coaches, right? For me, that's kind of the main thing. I don't mind the talking and whatever, saying things to Habib and stuff like that. Like, that's pretty entertaining. And yeah, if it helps him stay positive in the fight, or that self-healing that Jack was talking about, that's an interesting take as well. And I think there's some truth to that. But yeah, he's got to be a little bit more respectful of his coaches, really, at the end of the day. And if he had listened to them, maybe they were trying to tell him about his takedown defense, right? Because he was completely overextending every time on his combos. He's putting his hips way out there. It was so easy for Brunson to get those takedowns, like too easy, right? And
why does he even have coaches? Why does he even have them if he's not even going to use them?
Yeah, just pull a Mike Perry and pull your girl in there or whatever, right? Like, and talk it out with her, or so whatever, right? Like, it's doesn't, it's so just not good for his game at the end of the day. He looked a little silly there, and the amount that he was celebrating when he got that one takedown, I think in the fourth round, again, like it's a little bit cringy, a little bit, right? Some of that stuff. because you're losing the fight, right? You're losing the fight, and all this talking, as Bisbee was saying during the broadcast, it's all well and good if you're winning the fight. If you're not winning the fight, you don't have to listen to your coach if you don't want to. If you're crushing the guy, right? You're picking him like Gagey was and Tony, and if you're having fun, like go right ahead. Don't listen. Do what you want. But when you're losing the fight, it's such a bad look. And his fundamentals there, just in terms of MMA boxing, really, there's some easy things for him to change there. So I'm sad that I didn't notice it before Easy Lines, right? Because obviously we took him, and the fact is he knocked out Souza from the ground. He was on the bottom, right? He got taken down. Now he did some crazy stuff down there, and he obviously got the finish, but that's luck. You could easily say that was a lucky finish, and the fact of the matter is he was on the ground. He got taken down, and that was clearly a weakness that he had going into it with, as you said, some with Brunson's strength of wrestling. So, but I'm done with my take there. I know Kron's he's got to rant a little bit here.
Yeah, I agree with all your guys' points. It kind of pains me to hear Zone say he's going to continue this behavior. And I think I agree with even in the fact that that's all great. Go ahead, talk whatever you want, but you have to win. Like, you can't do it and lose the way you did. That's unacceptable to me. It's not professional. The guy, I don't know if you guys noticed it, he kept going for high fives with Brunson every round and smiling, laughing, touching gloves. It's like, this isn't, patty cake at recess, guys. This is a cage fight. And Brunson, I respect him for not going down that path to try to touch gloves and do all this weird.
Even at the end too, when Holland knew he lost, he went over. I remember he went over to Brunson and put his arm around him and was trying to do the same thing, and Brunson just ignored him and kept walking.
Yeah. What is this, a reunion? And you haven't seen him, a long lost brother, and you're one no, this is not that. It was crazy to me, and he just didn't look serious. He simply got outclassed, and just the fight IQ is totally not there. Yeah, sure, Jocker, he had a beautiful finish there, but before that, most of the guys, the majority were cans that he knocked out, and I feel like he just took that same approach into this fight. When you're in the top 10 in this weight class, any weight class, you can't afford just these stupid antics. And so
he'll have to learn from this, and you're totally right, Kronz. But the problem for him was, if he did take this serious and beat Brunson, he potentially could have leapfrogged a few guys, maybe even potentially a title shot, they were saying, because he would have won, I think, 6 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And that now he set himself back a year at least to getting up to bigger fights. He's going to have to, he does fight a lot. He did last year, and that's obviously how he came on the scene. But he set himself back, like you said. So
just frustrating to watch, so much potential, and it just seems like they piss it away. And, you see some of these other guys that are super animated, Max Holloway, for example, right? We're talking about him today. At least they back it up with their performance and they get the W. Celebrate all you want, jump around, laugh, all this stuff. But to lose the way he did, it was a super one-sided. I had to turn it off in the 5th round. I'm like, this is a joke. It seemed like a rough and rowdy match to me. It didn't feel like a professional MMA match. And if you're on the undercard, whatever, sure. But to be a headline main fight and do that, it's just Mickey Mouse. I don't know. I'm bitter. I lost money on that. So.
That's okay. But you're right, though.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna have to go back, and then what does he say to his coaches? Sorry, I didn't listen. I was an idiot. But then he says he's still gonna talk in there. So is he still gonna not listen to them? How do you even coach somebody like that? That's uncoachable, right?
True.
So
it's just immature, right? It's just, he seems like a 18-year-old kid, hasn't grown up yet. So hopefully he gets a little bit of a humble pie served to him for dinner here. So. Anyways,
he certainly has the skills and the reach and the length at that division, right? And he was hit. He did knock Brunson really hard there in the second round.
Faced him.
And Brunson, showed his toughness and his experience, and that's what really, I've what is it? Like I've underrated Brunson, I
Mhm.
guess, right? Too many times before against Edmund
Yeah.
Shabazian as well. And he proved me wrong and proved many other people wrong, I'm sure. So he's a high level guy. But at the end of the day, like you said, Holland just didn't give himself a chance to really win that fight. You have to be able to adjust on the fly, adjust your game plan. That's what the great fighters do. Cejudo, obviously, GSP, all these greats. That's how they're able to continuously win. John Jones, right? So really, Habib doesn't have to change anything, right? He's just so unreal what he does. But everyone else, everyone is adaptable, and and that's what you got to do to beat this top five or levels to this game, which is what we'll get into easy lines a little bit later. But to jump into our next topic quickly, lightweight division. There's a lot of talk here, a lot of news, obviously. Announcement of Dustin Poirier and McGregor, number 3, and then as well Chandler versus Charlie Olives for the championship there. And a lot of people some people are saying online, Dustin got gypped or whatever, but that's not true at all. This is Dustin's choice. Dustin chose this fight, right? Poirier chose this fight against Conor because that's a bigger fight. He does, that's the money fight. Obviously, fighting what would be maybe a tougher guy, let's say, or a tougher matchup in a belt fight that's actually going to make you less money, perhaps. Why do it, right? So he made the right decision for himself. Can't blame him. Great fight. Let's see what happens. Now we got Chandler and Olives coming, right? Now the question is here, where does Gaethje fall out of here? What him being kind of left out a little bit, right? Does he deserve it more than Chandler or Olives? Well, I would say not Charles Oliveira, right? I think Oliveira definitely has a very good case here. Chandler, not so much. I don't know. Like that's where it kind of gets a little dicey for me. He's only had one UFC fight. Yes, he knocked out Dan Hooker. Hooker didn't look great in that. Not a great performance. Hooker's been, he's good, but he's not a top 5 guy, let's say, at that division, certainly. So, I'm a little questionable on that. But what are you thinking there, Zone? What are your thoughts on the lightweight status right now?
Yeah, so you're totally right. Poirier McGregor 3 makes the most sense. Let's see how McGregor bounces back after that performance. He's got some adjustments to make himself. That's a matchup that they both wanted. They knew that. So put them aside. Olives 100% deserves it. He should be in there no matter what. Gaethje did just get mauled, even though he fought pretty well against Khabib for as long as it did. The leg kicks, we talked about this. If it went another round with those leg kicks, who knows? But that's what great fighters do. Khabib ended up doing what he does, retires, drives off into the sunset. I don't love giving guys with a 1-fight losing streak an automatic title shot. I know Gaethje lost to one of the best, if not the best ever, especially in the lightweight division, the best ever. Giving him an immediate title shot after a loss, I don't love. Chandler, we knew he was a marketing piece when he came over from Bellator, when he was the step in, the batter's box guy for the title fight, Khabib and Gaethje. So he was the number 1 contender, already not even fought in the UFC. He comes out, he knocks out Hooker, looked really good doing it. I know Hooker, like we said, is a top 10, maybe not a top 5 guy, but it was still impressive. He's next in line. Gaethje, I think personally, should fight the winner of Beneil Dariush and Tony Ferguson. That's who it is, right?
Yep, you're right.
So sorry. If Dariush beats Ferguson, I think
Right.
Gaethje and Dariush will be the number 1 contender.
Because he just fought Ferguson.
Yes, he just beat Ferguson pretty good.
Mhm.
If Ferguson wins, I still think they're probably going to give him someone, in number 6, 7 range. Then it could be Poirier or McGregor, right? So Gaethje against, maybe if McGregor wins that'll be 2 out of 3. So there's a lot of stuff to do here, but yeah. I'm not mad at Chandler getting the title shot because he was already anointed being the batter's box guy anyways. Then he gets a finish and now he steps in.
And just the reality, Chandler's not getting any younger. None of these guys are, but he's near the tail end. So he's got an expiry ticking, right? So you got to give him a shot. maximize revenue potential. If he wins the belt, he's got to defend it for a certain amount of time, right?
Against some killers too. So
yeah, like
it's not
stacked
like it gets
division.
easier.
Yeah, it's inevitable. He's going to be fighting the top who's who. I think you're right. I think Gaethje should fight the winner of McGregor and Poirier, try to avenge his loss to Poirier. It kind of goes without saying in the fight world, when you knock out someone, then they knock you out. It's a third trilogy fight unless someone's retired or injured or whatever.
Yeah.
So the whole McGregor Poirier, that's the unwritten rule. Like, you had to make that fight, regardless if they wanted it or whoever's saying whatever.
Because they can't maximize that in 4 or 5 years, because they both
Yep.
probably won't be fighting then. So it's got to be now.
So to me, everything kind of fell into place, and it sucks for Gaethje because it's an odd number. There's the 5, and there isn't a 6th guy that's readily apparently there in the mix. So I agree that Dariush fight could be a nice one for him. Or the problem with McGregor Poirier, it's going to be late in the year, and the guy hasn't fought since, when was that? Last October. So I guess there's that. But anyways,
true.
Should be an interesting division here over the next 6 to 12 months.
And it looks like Dos Anjos is going to fight Makhachev. So if whoever wins that, you could give Gaethje and have him at least face somebody in the top 10, and whoever
tune-up fight coming off a loss, right?
Yeah.
Get him back in the win column. It's not a bad idea either.
Yeah.
So,
or just give him RDA right now, or even fucking Felder as a fight to Gaethje right now. Like, I wouldn't mind that, just as a
be a banger.
But I don't know where Felder's at right now in terms of his ranking though, but
he's still around 10, just inside 10 maybe or something.
So potential. But we'll see if Gaethje's willing to wait until the end of the year, because that's what he's going to have to do at this point. He's not going to get a fight in the summer unless he takes someone below him in ranking, it looks like, right? So but that's, I think, any more headline, anything else you guys want to mention?
Didn't see too much this week. I'm sure we'll probably have a bunch next week, just in terms of analyzing the pay-per-view. So why don't we get into easy lines, because it's a stacked card, and I'm sure there's just a lot of nice hidden value plays too that our fans will hopefully meet us at the cashier for.
Well, certainly. And a lot of my analysis will be focused on the main fight here, just because it is so interesting and a really tough fight to call, certainly. But before I do that, just to kind of recap, heading into the weekend, we're currently at a record of 110 wins, 75 losses, putting us just at that 60% win rate still. Last weekend, unfortunately, our picks were affected by COVID delays again and injuries, with the Gillespie fight not happening. So not as much chance to kind of improve, but we'll see what we can do this weekend. Hopefully nothing, again, obviously Alexander Volkanovski and Ortega being off, that was one of my main fights. I was so excited for that one. Had lots of analysis, of course, off now, right? So, but we'll see what we can kind of patch together here. It does have some interesting matchups, of course, headlined by an absolutely brilliant heavyweight fight championship rematch between Stipe, immigrant mentality Miocic, against Francis I dig sand Ngannou. And over under, I'm going to put my own over under here at 3.5 at how many times UFC are going to show that picture of a young skinny Ngannou with that shovel over his shoulder, right? They absolutely love that photo, and at least three times. So 3.5. But this time around, even more interesting than the first time. Of course, Francis has additional experience, and Stipe's recent wins over Daniel Cormier, who's considered one of the best pound for pound fighters of all time. So it's going to be even more interesting this time around. Despite Francis losing the first fight, he's still the favorite here in this rematch at -125, and Miocic is at a +100. Such a tough fight to call. It's really 50-50 for me here, but I do have some plays that I'm going to talk about. To summarize in general, though, what I'm going to say quickly here is that Francis, certainly has a much better chance of winning this time around, in my opinion, but I don't believe he should be the betting favorite. It should really be a -125 on Stipe's side. as opposed to the other way around, right? But the first fight, Francis really kind of got to kind of recap all that happened, right? First fight, he really gassed himself out the first couple of minutes, right? Really chasing at the end of the fight there. And Stipe ended up having a, kind of a dominant wrestling performance in a decision match, right? Immediately the next fight, Francis comes out fighting Derek Lewis, and those two put on one of the worst heavyweight fights of all time. So memorable for how bad it was. And Francis was incredibly tentative in that fight. Absolutely nothing happened. He apologized to his fans afterwards, comes back and wins his next 4 fights by knockout. The entirety of all 4 of these fights do not last 2.5 minutes, right? 3 of them didn't even last 45 seconds. So that tells you right there just how aggressive he's been. So what are we going to get out of Francis here? It's a hard question to answer yet. Has he totally learned his lesson to be patient here and pick his shots better? Because that is truly his best chance of winning against Stipe here. Stay aggressive, of course, but have more of a game plan to set up some traps and lead Stipe into some things instead of just wildly throwing looping punches, right? Now he has gotten better at this his last couple of fights. I will say that his footwork is getting better. His feet are more underneath him when he's throwing his combos, so he doesn't, which allows him to defend against takedowns much easier. But he's still having success just bum rushing these guys, right? So just swinging these haymakers. So it's going to be hard for him. I think once the fight starts and he gets in there, it's going to be hard for him to kind of really lay back, right? So as we said before, there's levels to this game, and I think Stipe has proven he's on a different level. He's continuously underrated and overlooked. He's very often the betting underdog as of late and recent, but I don't think it's because of his skill set, which is what most people say. I think it's because of the level of the competition that he's faced. He's faced some very, very good people. Obviously Cormier 3 times, but Verdum, when Verdum was an absolute monster and at his prime, even Overeem, 4 or 5 years ago. So he's obviously Ngannou. So he's fought really, really tough people. Arlovsky back in the day, Mark Hunt. So it's he's continuously underrated, I think. Which is why it's such a kind of tough fight to call. But my main play here is going to be over 1.5 rounds at -138. So that is 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the second round, so halfway through the second one. Most likely, even if Francis does get super aggressive in that first round, Stipe is going to be able to use his wrestling and excellent defensive boxing. He's very responsible defensively with his boxing and withstand that firepower as he did the first fight. Also, Francis himself has a granite chin. That's something people always forget about him, I think, because all that power that he has, but he's barely been touched up during his career at all. Really, Stipe's been the only one that's really landed on him good, right, in the past. So I think that over 1.5 looks great to me. If you're leaning one way or the other, I think, again, Stipe's a +450 decision. That, I mean, if anything, probably something similar is going to happen, right? As last time, or Francis might, knock him out, but I'd say that's more of like a 20 to 30% chance, something like that. Really, I'm looking at this at this decision, I think. Again, but it's hard to tell. Like Francis +1,000. Again, we've seen crazier things happen before. This fight going to decision, I don't think it's that crazy because it's already happened. Now, as I said before, Francis has improved. He has improved in terms of his technical boxing. So hopefully he does look to land his shots. But even if he does look to land those shots, as I said, that means he's going to go longer. So over 1.5, I do think is great there. If you do want to go on that Francis train of knocking him out, you can take the second round, third round. I think second round was +600, third round was like +1,000. So take a look, or maybe +850. Take a look at those. But what do you think in their zone?
Couldn't agree more on 1.5. this is it. I'm not with the betting part, but I'm just thinking in the future of the heavyweight division. If Miocic wins, I could see him potentially retiring. What else is there left for him to do? If Francis wins, I could see there being a third fight. Then that kind of holds up the division a little bit. Just excited to see this fight, but I like the over 1.5.
I'm in the over boat as well. Let's get rowing.
Yeah, I was just looking at it, so I got updated. So let me correct myself. So Francis Ngannou second round plus 550, but third round plus 1400.
Yeah, big boy.
That is like
Look at
Stipe
fourth and
might
fifth
go-
rounds.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's
Yeah.
Check,
like, that's-
please.
Yeah, that looks. Now again, like imagine Stipe just knocks out Francis and just blows up all of our minds, right? Like that will be like I mean, at this point with MMA, who knows,
I'll
right?
streak down Winterberry if that happens.
But that's what I mean though. But that's a plus 187, like for Stipe to finish the fight. So and if you look back at France, another thing too. Well, if you go back and look at Francis and the first fight against Stipe, he was big. He was a big boy. He was 263. He doesn't weigh in like that anymore. You can tell now he's much more cut. He has his cardio's better this time around. Will he actually use it though is the question, right? But I think if they get there, it's going to be a little bit of a closer fight. Which is why, yeah, I think we're going to see a little bit more of a stalemate or whatever, and for it to go a little bit longer. Which is why I see so much value on those decisions. Plus 450, like Mio. If you really like Miocic, I mean, plus 450, man, like that looks lovely to me. So yeah, at least, and then if you're not sure, like I am, then take that over, baby, because that looks good to me.
We got about 2 minutes 45 seconds here.
Yeah, no worries. That was my main one. Basically, the only other things I was going to say was Woodley, actually. Now, Woodley, everyone's going to be surprised by that, but his last three people he lost to was Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman, right? Ridiculous lineup. Vince Luque, he's a very tough guy, but I think Woodley still has the ability to win at 38 years old. He has the fight IQ, I think, in general, and I think he'll be able to win this fight. Unfortunately, the prop bets aren't out for some random reason. I'm not sure why, if something's going on there, but if you can take Woodley decision, whatever that may be, if that's like a plus 200, plus 300, if I can take that right now, I like the over in that fight as well, whatever that may be. Yeah, Sean O'Malley as well, finish minus 120. I think he's going to come back and prove everyone that whatever, he's going to come back with a vengeance, basically. So minus 120 looks good to me as well. You jump in there, so.
I like that. So 2 value picks. Guy we're having on the podcast this week, Modestas Bukauskas. He is a plus 130 as a money line. I like that. I like how he matches up against the Polish power. I also like Jared Gooden. He's fighting against Nurmagomedov, who obviously are very, very successful, but I think the athleticism of Gooden's going to get him by here, plus 187 as a money line. And then I have 2 picks here. I don't know the line for this, but Alonzo Menifield's opponent dropped out, William Knight, and he needs a win here. This guy's a knockout power guy. He's fighting the LFA light heavyweight that they just called up today. And I like him to finish this fight. I'm not sure what the line's going to be, but this other guy's a grappler, and I think he gets absolutely pummeled by Menifield. And the last one is Kama Worthy by finish. He's been talking a lot of shit, and I think he's going to back it up, plus 130 for the finish against Jamie Malarkey. So those are my value and prelim picks.
Nice.
Love it.
If I had to guess, I'm guessing Woodley's going to be like plus 500 by decision or by finish or by decision, just because his money line's
right.
plus 200. So like I'm guessing plus 400, plus 5.
It is a better matchup for him stand-up wise, though.
Yep.
The other guys mauled him.
Yep.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly. Even him plus 200, if you want to take, like, that should not be a plus 200. Luque should be like a minus 170 or like minus 200.
Cool.
So
that's all the time we got this week. See you at the cashier.
Next up on the Hooks In MMA podcast, we're lucky to have UFC fighter, big fight coming up in the coming weeks here. Modestas, the Baltic Gladiator, Bukauskas. How's it going today?
Yeah, going really, really well, thank you. And you pronounced the name spot on, so thank you.
I tried my best. I was going to ask you beforehand, but I thought I'd just give it a go. Talk about, I believe you were born in Lithuania, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, just talk about growing up there and some hobbies you had.
Yeah, to be honest, there wasn't too many memories. Maybe some very, very like sort of small memories from when I was very young, because I actually moved to the UK when I was 3 years old. That's why I got the very strong British accent, which definitely overpowers the Lithuanian, whereas my dad's got a very strong Lithuanian accent. But yeah, man, like obviously like early beginnings and everything like that. I have a couple of memories just like driving around in like this toy car thing and just bashing into walls and stuff. That was about the clearest, most vivid memory that I have of that. And you know, sometimes going into the woods with my dad. But to be honest, most of my memories obviously come from living in the UK. Just you know, from early beginnings of learning martial arts and training with my dad, and you know, being under a very strict regimen and stuff like that. But yeah, man, like obviously I keep the heritage very strong. I absolutely love the country. It's beautiful. You know, I've gone to visit a couple of times, but you know, it's been quite a long time since I've been out there. Just been grafting away, you know, doing my stuff in the MMA world. So I can't actually wait to go back there and visit again.
Yeah, you know, with the past year, I'm sure it's made it a little difficult too. But hopefully you can get this W, and then maybe you can find some time after that. Just talk about the gym you're currently at and the coaches that are going to be in your corner for this fight.
Yeah, so I mean, in London, with my sort of training, I travel where I'm going to get the most benefit in terms of improving my skill set. So it's not like a one particular place. Like I know, you know, in America, they have like a sort of a one-stop shop for all of your training needs, like, you know, American Top Team and Duke Rufus and stuff like that. But for me, I have to try, and I think it's the same for most athletes from the UK. We have to sort of travel around a little bit. But my head coach is my dad, Gintas Bukauskas, you know, former no holds barred Soviet Union heavyweight champion. So, you know, you can't get any better sort of credentials than that, you know, and in terms of helping me get pumped up for fights. So I've had him in my corner since day one, and he's been the one that's really believed in me this whole time. So yeah, he's sort of the main guy. And then we've got Danny Batten, another massive influence. He's in my corner also, from BST Academy in Northampton. He's really helped me round off my grappling game, my overall MMA skill set as a whole in fights and strategy and stuff like that. So Danny Batten, another big part of the team. And then the last one I have in my corner is Lucas Klinger. He is one of my best training partners. You honestly can't find a better training partner than him in terms of helping me prepare, not only specifically for my opponent, but also just in general for overall skill sets. His grappling's high level. He's a very high level brown belt. And yeah, like all the guys at BST are like really good. I've got Lloyd Heaven, Terry Dixon for my boxing. I've got Mosen, who's a very good, like top level wrestler. So mate, I've got Will Curry, who's actually fighting on Cage Warriors tomorrow. He's another great training partner that had this cap, Ed Ingemels. So as you can see, I've literally been traveling all over the place, getting literally the best training. So yeah, I feel very confident coming into this fight.
Yeah, just to put that into perspective, like just pick out any job, and if you're going from one place to another to develop training from different people and hearing different voices and training with other people and learning from them, I mean, it bodes well for the future. You're adding to your arsenal, and it's going to make you more multifaceted and ready for anything coming. So I respect that.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, like I say, it's especially working on the individual skill sets, but also mixing it in for an MMA sort of mindset. Like I've got minds which are all connected. It's very hard to find minds that are really sort of on the same page, and that's where I think some fighters may go wrong. But the fact that all of my team is like they're fluid flow from one to the other, and all the ideas that we throw from each other just all click. So I'm very grateful and obviously very happy that I have that within my team.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You spoke about Cage Warriors. Obviously, you fought in that promotion quite a few times. I've watched it myself. It's a great show over in the UK. I actually watched, when Corona got, really out of control last year. I think it was in like March or April. They had a card with a couple of UFC guys, Darren Stewart and I forget the other. I think it was Bertowski or something like that. But just a great promotion. So you came from the right place, and now you're 1-1 in the UFC. March 27th, you're fighting, and now I'm glad he's not listening. Michael Alexichuk. I'm not sure if that's pronounced right, but what do you know about him, and how do you feel about that matchup?
Well, from what I know, he's a very powerful striker, got a very heavy rear hand. Not much has been documented about his grappling. From what it seems like, that's his weakest sort of area. That's where people have overpowered him now. Granted, he has had a year out, so I'm pretty sure he would have been working on that sort of area of his game also. But yeah, very forward pressure fighter. He really works off of momentum, and he just puts it on his opponent. So he's very dangerous, but there are some clear holes in his game where obviously I think he's probably saying the same thing about me. There must be holes in my game, but when we go and clash heads, he's going to find out very quickly that I do not have any holes, and that I'm going to expose him on the fight. Yeah,
looking forward to that. What are some of your hobbies outside of training and fighting? What do you like to do when you just get some downtime?
Do you know what? It sounds so silly, but even just like when I finish a training session, for example, me just like sitting down, watching Netflix and eating my food, like that is one of the most enjoyable parts of my day, weirdly enough. Like every time I get to sit down and eat and watch something on my own, no one just distracting me or anything. I can just sit there. It's like my alone time, or the coffee that I have before like my training sessions. But if you're talking in terms of like hobbies, I mean, I used to play basketball in America when I went to high school there for 2 years. So that's still, a bit of a love of mine. And, when things are open, I guess I just like being outdoors. I like doing things. I like, I don't like staying static. I'm not that kind of guy who likes sitting indoors most of the day. I like to do something. Obviously, when I'm a bit more tired or the week's been hard, then I like it's not bad to have a line. But like I like to play top golf. I like to go out and see my friends and stuff like that. Me and my dad would play table tennis. We've got like a darts board in our gym and stuff. So I just like things that entertain me, that are interesting, that gets my body moving. I love doing it, and I've actually been getting into a lot of just reading, man. Just reading different things, different viewpoints. I love watching interviews and see how different minds work and trying to apply it into my own, just my own overall sort of lifestyle. So yeah, man. I guess you could just say I just like doing things that interest me.
Yeah, and a bunch of those things you mentioned, I do too. So it's either we're both, weird, or we're in the norm. I think we're in the norm. People come home from a hard day's work, and there's nothing like eating a good meal and watching some Netflix. So I'm okay with that.
That's it.
Just to finish up, between rounds, it'll be about a minute, and I'll ask you a question. Just give me your quickest, best answer. Okay.
Okay.
Favorite food to eat?
Spaghetti bolognese.
Favorite sport other than MMA?
That's a hard one, actually. I would say American football.
Okay. Favorite country in the world other than Lithuania, and you can't pick the UK either.
The US.
Yeah. Okay. What about favorite spot in the UK? Where's a cool spot to go to? You tell somebody who's never been.
Do you know what? Bond Street. I've been going there a lot to do medicals and stuff, but I do really like Bond Street, Oxford Circus. Those areas are pretty cool.
Okay. Favorite type of music?
Do you know what? I'll answer it like this. Over the years, I can listen to literally anything in my life. I think as everyone sort of grows older, they sort of learn to appreciate all types of music. But saying that, I've always loved rap and hip hop. That's been like my main thing. But now I listen to most genres, to be fair.
And just as a fan, who are a couple of your favorite MMA fighters of all time that kind of, either inspired you or just you looked up to?
Well, definitely my dad's got to be one of them, without a doubt. Has always inspired me. John Jones is another one of my biggest inspirations. The fact that he's able to win the title from such a young age. George St. Pierre. I really like Israel Adesanya, and do you know what? I've been loving Jan Blachowicz. So those are sort of the fighters that I could say that I watch on a regular basis. Oh, and Max Holloway. I love Max Holloway as well.
Yeah, hard not to love Max.
Yeah.
So how's it going to finish up on the 27th?
Mate, there is going to be a stoppage. I'm gonna knock him out within those 3 rounds. That's the way I see it. There's no way else that I see it going other than me getting the finish and me getting my hand raised. So that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, and sponsor shoutouts or social media to finish up.
Oh, we've got quite a few, but we'll go from the top and go down. I'm sorry if I missed anyone out, but so definitely more at MMA. My man Fred always hooking me up. Fighter Shop UK, another Lithuanian brother, always helping me out. I've got Leanne at Distinct Physiotherapy. No one, and I repeat, no one could get me back to full form after an operation or after injury as quickly as she can. So Leanne at Distinct Physiotherapy. Anyone out in the UK, obviously, go and check her out. But I guess the same way anyone in the US, go and check her out. Also, Edouard, got to give him a shout out for hooking me up with the hat and everything. Sancti Pue is actually the man who owns it. Well, I think he's the main sort of the manager of it. It's a clothing brand, so obviously check them out. He was on the show Take Me Out, and he's got his own clothing line, which is very, very successful. Iridium Sports Agency, I've got to give a massive shout out to them. I mean, without them, none of this would be possible. So obviously, I've got to give a massive shout out to them. So right as well. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anyone else. Like I say, when they all come up, it's hard to remember everything.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I missed anyone out, but for the most part, I got an amazing team of people helping me out. So I really appreciate every single one of them.
Yeah, the positive thing is you got so many that even if you miss a few, I mean, there's a lot of shout outs to go. Really looking forward to March 27th. You're going to get that W, get to 2-1 in the UFC, and the sky's the limit for you based on your skills and your talent. So we appreciate you coming on. Modestas, the Baltic Gladiator, Bukauskas. This is Hooks in MMA. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate you having me on and having a chat. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me as well. You take care and good luck.
Nice one, brother. Take care, my man.
You, bro. Next up on the Hooks In MMA podcast, we're lucky to have on the head striking coach at Fight Ready. He's the head coach striking wise for notable UFC fighters Henry Cejudo, Triple C, and Korean Zombie, and many more. Eric Anders actually as well. We talked to a few weeks ago. Eddie Cha, how's it going today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Appreciate you giving us a few minutes here. Excited for UFC 260 this week, and just wanted to talk to you and interested in what brought you into the sport. So growing up, where did you grow up and what got you into MMA?
I was born in Seoul, Korea. I moved here to the US when I was about 3 years old. My parents moved everywhere when I was younger, so I've been pretty much a California guy my whole life. Southern California, Northern California, and then started training in MMA, or started coaching. I never did MMA. I did Muay Thai kickboxing, boxing, and kickboxing fights, but I never did MMA. Started training a kid, Chris Saunders, and he kind of got me into it. And then my next big jump was Francisco Rivera, and then from then on, I opened up a gym and been in it ever since. So
Francisco Rivera, the bantamweight, correct?
Yeah.
And he was a killer when I watched him fight back in the day too. He had a lot of good skills, and I know he fought. I'm pretty sure he fought at least one Canadian. We're up near Toronto here, so he a lot of skill. But you got to start somewhere, and you've obviously evolved and big name in the sport now. Lucky enough to talk to you. So what other training partners do you have as a coach? What other coaches do you kind of coincide with to help with your fighters?
Our coaching staff at Fight Ready, we have Santino DeFranco. He's pretty much our head coach, our leader. I'm a head coach for some of the guys, but to me, it doesn't really matter what the status of striking coach or head coach, as long as we're all kind of contributing to it, and that's how we all feel about it. Santino and I, we always kind of rock, paper, scissors, who wears the mic. We both don't like wearing it and so forth. We have a boxing coach, Alan Vyers. We have Angel Cejudo, which is Henry's brother. He's our wrestling coach. We have Chad EK on staff for our strength and conditioning. We have a bunch of guys, but that's mainly our core. And then we have a couple other coaches as well. But yeah, we have a really solid coaching staff. I think chemistry is the key for us. We get along great. There's no egos. Nobody really wants credit for, getting this win or this game plan or whatever. It's just, let's get the win. And that's all that literally matters. So
Yeah.
super blessed to be working with the guys.
And whether it's MMA or football or basketball, it doesn't really matter. It's from top to bottom, right? GM or whatever, down all the way to training staff. Like, it doesn't really matter. No egos. That's a big part of success for team success. So that makes a lot of sense to me. We talked earlier, just for a few minutes there, you got, a busy next couple months. I'm sure it's probably always busy, but PFL, Bellator, UFC, how do you manage that with, having a family and all that stuff? It's got to be, pretty tough sometimes.
It is. I think everybody in the sport just understands how much traveling is involved. I'm actually traveling a little bit less, believe it or not. When I was like a year ago, I was at the MMA lab, and I think one year we traveled literally 3 months out of the year. So a fourth of my life is literally with the guys. And when we say we're family, I mean, we really mean that, because for some of the guys, at least, we share a good amount of camps we spend every day. We see the emotional part of it, the ride, the ups and the downs and things like that. So just kind of experiencing those kind of things. They're literally, some of the guys are like my brothers, but yeah, it's great. I mean, definitely have to have an understanding family. But I think, they understand that it's part of the job. You can't do traveling and just train guys like that. This time around, our schedule's so slammed is that we're trying to go a little bit later in the week. Because if all our coaches were to go on Tuesday to Saturday, Sunday for UFC fights, we wouldn't have anybody coaching the guys that have fights coming up. So we're trying to leave like Thursday, Friday. Most of the work is usually done anyway. Once you get to the end of the week, it's just kind of going through the motions. Some guys like one of the main coaches being there throughout the week. And if that's the case, one of us will go. But for the most part, we're trying to go a little bit later, travel a little bit less. To me, it doesn't matter traveling, but then I can't neglect all the guys that are back home that has fights.
Exactly. So, and that goes back to what you're saying with teamwork, right? And with regards to your family as well, like that's as important of a team as you can have, supporting you. That's all part of it. So that's great. I honestly, I don't want to ask you something that you feel like you have to answer. I'm sure you wouldn't anyways, but I'm just going to throw out a couple things. And if you can answer, that'd be great. What do you think the feeling would be for Korean Zombie to fight Dan Ige next?
That's probably the fight that might happen. I mean, looking at the top 10 roster in the featherweight division, I mean, everybody's kind of has a dance partner, so to speak. So, I know Ige's called him out twice now, and I don't know if Zombie put something out there, but yeah, that looks like it could very possibly happen. I love the fight. I think Ike is a great fighter. I got nothing but respect for him. He's at a great gym at Extreme Couture's. I know their coach, Eric. I just spoke with him after Eric Anders' fight out there. So I guess the Zombie Ige is going to happen. He goes, we just let the managers figure that out. And I said, I hear you 100%. I mean, but we both have to okay it. I know that. So are you in or out? And we were kind of talking a little bit, but yeah, he's a good coach. He's a good friend, and nothing but respect for those guys. I think it would just be a great fight stylistically, and things like that. And so
I threw it out there to you because I actually do think it'll be a great fight as well. We did talk to Eric a few weeks ago, and yeah, that would be fantastic. Unfortunately, it didn't go as well as we thought it would for Gavin Tucker here in Canada. He didn't get a chance to showcase his skill, but that's credit to Dan Ige. So let's hope that fight comes to fruition. And then just with Cejudo, just give me, the fight that if he comes back, that you would be most excited about. So him and Figueiredo, him and Yan, him and Volkanovski, or him and Holloway. Which one excites you the most?
I think anything that Henry would come back would be exciting. I've never experienced anybody training with somebody like that. His mindset, I mean, the guy's just a winner. I think he was born to do something like this, you know. Not only he's been wrestling his whole life, winning the gold medal at the youngest age, I believe, as a U.S. Olympic gold medalist for wrestling, and then winning 2 division champs. And we saw how hard that is, even Israel going up. So I think any weight division, but if I had a choice in it, I would love for him to fight Volkanovski and go for 3 belts. You know, we were always talking about calling him C4, and so. Yeah, that would be super exciting. I would love to see him fight for a belt against Holloway or Volkanovski.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think he matches up really well against Volkanovski, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, so just any hobbies that you have other than obviously training and coaching and family life. What do you like to do on the side?
Not much. I used to love all sports: football, basketball, baseball, soccer, and you know that would be my whole weekends and stuff like that. But by the time I get home, I'm lucky to catch a game here and there. And then now that the UFC's on Saturdays, Bellator's on Fridays, and so forth, is like
And PFL.
there's not. Yeah, the PFL on Thursdays and so forth. There's just not a lot of time for anything. This work and this job literally consumes you if you do it the right way, with the film work, the preparation, and just recovery too. I think people don't think that coaches need recovery, but if you see the way, especially striking coaches, we're holding pads all the time. I don't know a single striking coach at their elbow that they haven't had surgery or shoulders or anything like that. So there's a limited amount of hours they can do that, but just the preparation that you do at home. There's not a lot too much, but hobbies wise, I'd say I just like watching movies, hanging out, playing with my dogs. I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm more of a homebody, so anytime we did quarantine, it wasn't too difficult for me.
Yeah. No, nothing wrong with that. Our last segment between rounds, I'm going to ask you a question. Just give me your best answer, okay?
Sure.
What's your favorite kind of food to eat?
Korean food.
Favorite sport other than MMA?
Boxing, football.
What's your favorite getaway spot in the United States? Somewhere that you would tell somebody to check out if they haven't?
California.
And which part of California?
But I'm from both Northern California and Southern. But I lived in Southern most of my life, so I would say Southern California.
Okay, I've been there once. I've been to San Diego, and fantastic place.
Beautiful there.
Beautiful. Yeah. Mission Beach. Favorite country in the world other than the States? And you can't pick Korea either.
That would have been my pick. Yeah, that's a tough one. I've been to a lot of countries, but I thought they were all great, and when we go to other countries, we don't really get to sightsee too much. Just depends on the fighter. But I have no idea. That's a tough one. Pass. I don't know.
Next question. Favorite kind of music?
It depends on the mood, but I listen to everything. Classic rock. I listen to hip hop.
And you said you like to watch movies. Do you have a favorite movie of all time?
I don't. Just depends on genre. I like everything: action, drama, oldies, comedy. It just kind of depends.
Good mixture.
I watch Korean dramas, Korean movies too. So I definitely like those.
Awesome. Who would be? You don't even have to say it in order. Just some of the top MMA fighters of all time, guys that you respect, guys that you have analyzed, guys that you've watched for years and years. Who stands out to you?
Definitely all the guys that are considered the greats. Jose Aldo is definitely one of my favorites. George St. Pierre, John Jones, Anderson Silva. I think Daniel Cormier is definitely up there. Henry Cejudo's up there. It's crazy. Everybody that I really was huge fans of, Benson Henderson, I got to work with him. Henry Cejudo was a huge fan of him, got to work with him. Korean Zombie got to work with him. So maybe if I keep saying who my favorites are, it'll come to life.
Why don't you give one that's not somebody you've trained, somebody that's not at your fight camp, somebody outside right now that you think in a few years might be one of your favorites?
That will be in a few years.
Yeah, and give it a few years until they can somebody that's got some prospect to them, but also
to be honest with you, A guy that's not a champion that I thought was had a huge potential was Gavin Tucker, your Canadian, your fellow Canadian. I still think that kid is a star. I think he has all the goods. He has a super high fight IQ. He can do it all. He can strike, clinch, grapple. His jiu-jitsu game showed it 2 fights ago and things like that. But I thought he just blitzed in a little too far away, and then he got caught with the right hand, walked into it. But
Yeah.
that kid is a stud. I love Ige, but I picked him. We have like a little fantasy MMA thing we do, and I picked Ige. I like that kid a lot. I think that guy's a huge upside to him.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think Tucker knows about that, and I think he'll come back strong. The problem was, he was supposed to fight Cub Swanson, and then he likes to take a lot more time in between fights, and he ended up stepping earlier and fighting earlier. I think that maybe went against him. I think that might have cost him, but it also was a risk, right? Because he's fighting a guy at number 8 in the world, and Cub wasn't ranked, so risk reward, right?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to take it. It just depends what you want in this sport. Do you want to be a journeyman? Do you want to kind of take it safe and things like that? Or do you really want to make a splash? You want to go up in the rankings and make some money? In order to do that, you have to take some short notice fights. You have to take some subs. And, the sport, especially with COVID and everything, there's guys are going to drop out, and you got to be kind of ready to fight anybody, especially if you believe you're in the top 10, top 5.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I thought that was a good matchup. I thought it'd be a great fight. You just didn't get the outcome, but it doesn't mean that he couldn't do it. And it wasn't I don't think it was the wrong decision.
No, I don't either. Like I said,
I thought he matched up well.
Yeah, I did too. Well, we'll see what happens. He'll bounce back. So any sponsor shout outs or social media to finish up?
Social media is just Eddie_Chaw. And shout out to Rev Gear. They've always been with me from the beginning. And Miss Mary Jane, CBD company, and then a few more, but that's all I can remember.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you reaching back out to me and providing some time for us. I'm really excited to see a lot of the guys that you work with, a lot of girls that you work with moving forward. Next couple months you'll be busy, and good luck to all those fighters that you've trained. Good luck to you. I hope your family stays safe. Eddie Chaw, this is Hooks in MMA. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your time. I'm always trying to support you guys. So anything I can do for you.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much. You take care.
Yep. Thanks.
Bye.
Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, yeah.